Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to the Rustic Von Lodge. I have been exiled to the Rustic Von Lodge. Why have I been exiled here? I will explain. It's all Zorro's fault, my little dog. Zorro. So, I haven't made as many videos recently as I normally do, and there's a reason for that. There's been a health emergency at Stately Von Manor. Rhonda, my delightful little monkey, had a health scare. She had a tumor on her shoulder, and it turns out it was cancer, which is scary, and so she had to have surgery. So she just had a major surgery with this tumor. There were actually a couple that had to be removed. And so Rhonda, the monkey, had surgery, and she came home. She had a big scar. She has a big scar down her side, and she had one of those cones on her head, to make sure she doesn't cause trouble. We replaced that with a donut, which is much more dignified. So she has a dignified donut now to keep her from mucking about with her stitches. Anyway, Rhonda had this going on. It looks like she's going to be all right. The outlook seems to be good so far. She should make a full recovery. She should. But the thing is, she needs a lot of downtime. They gave us instructions. Make sure Rhonda doesn't jump on the furniture, for example. She's a monkey. How do you keep a monkey from jumping on the furniture? So there's some challenges involved with her recovery. And one of the challenges is that my dog, Zorro, just wants to play with Rhonda. Zorro doesn't understand that Rhonda had surgery. Rhonda doesn't understand that she had surgery. So Zorro, we had to put Rhonda in another room so she could relax and recover. And Zorro's at the door like, let me in, let me play with Rhonda. So Zorro and I have been exiled. The lady of the manor is at home at the manor, and I have been sent up with Zorro for a couple days to the lodge where I can keep him out of trouble, and Rhonda can have at least a couple days without us having to deal with Zorro trying to get to Rhonda. It's all, it's a lot. There's been a lot going on. So all that has been going on. But it is time for my weekend reading report because I have read some stuff, even though a lot's been going on. I didn't bring any of it out with me, so I'm going to have to flash up pictures. Book number 115 in my 500 book challenge, the challenge where I have to read 500 books that I already own before I buy any new ones. Book 115 was Superman, the Golden Age Omnibus Volume 2. I finally finished this book after reading, a story here and a story there forever. I would set this thing down for like weeks and then pick it up and read a story. But I finally finished it, so, it counts. It counts. So, yeah, Superman, the Golden Age Omnibus Volume 2, really good, actually. Just as good as the first Golden Age Omnibus, actually. And I have 6 more, or is it 5? I got 5 more. I have 5 more Golden Age Omnibuses still to read. And I really have come to enjoy the Golden Age Superman. He's a lot of fun. He doesn't take any guff, Golden Age Superman. He was often in trouble with the law. He just kind of does whatever he wants. And he's cool. These early years of Superman are really interesting and fun. He mostly just fights gangsters, although recently I think just recently, a couple stories ago, one of the last stories in the volume, he fights Lex Luthor, who had gained superpowers. Lex Luthor had gained superpowers. But Superman still defeated him pretty easily. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. So that was book 115. Then I read book 116, which is City by Clifford D. Simak. This is one of my favorite science fiction novels of all time. And Shawn D. Standfast over on his channel is doing a read-along this month for this book, City by Clifford D. Simak. Clifford D. Simak is one of Shawn's favorite authors, which is completely understandable because he's brilliant. And this is my favorite science fiction book. It is a fix-up novel, which means it was originally a bunch of interconnected short stories that appeared in Astounding, I believe, as a series of short stories. They're all independent short stories, but they're all connected as well. And together, this book, it tells the story of the future of humanity, where human beings eventually leave Earth and they give up the planet Earth. And the inheritors of the Earth are robots and dogs and the other animals. And dogs create their own civilization. And the main character, there's a main human family called the Websters that play a huge part in this series of stories. And there's also a robot, Jenkins, who is pretty much the main character. And it's just a great book. There are times when it seems to border on fantasy. You get to some stories in the latter half of the book where you just have a bunch of talking animals, which feels peculiar, but it is science fiction. And it's great. I mean, just such a great book. Wonderful story. And a really interesting book. And like I said, I'm going to do a video for City on its own because it is definitely a bookshelf essential. So I'll probably try to get that up next week while this book is still fresh in my mind. It's not the first time I've read it. I've read it, of course, before a few times, but it had been a number of years since I've read City. So that was cool. That's what I read. And right now I'm reading Jungle Tales of Tarzan by Edgar Rice Burroughs. I am reading all of the Tarzan books. Well, I'm reading all of Edgar Rice Burroughs' books in the order that Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote them, more or less. More or less, you know. So, yeah, I'm reading that right now. I've just started it this morning. I didn't have as much time to read this past week as I would have liked because I was busy, and then I came up here. And there was actually some stuff I had to do up here. Yeah, so I did that stuff. And I'll be reading more of Jungle Tales of Tarzan this afternoon. And I've also been reading Thor. I'm on Epic Collection number, it's 11. It's the 11th Epic Collection of Thor. Because I'm reading every issue of Thor. Every issue from the first run of Thor, which ran from the early 1960s until the mid-1990s. I'm reading every issue. And I want to read them all in 1 year's time, which means I have to finish on October 5th, which is when I started. I started October 5th of last year. Don't know that I'm going to make it. Don't know if I'm going to make it because I am behind. I should be further ahead than I am. But I am reading Thor every day, even if it's only an issue of Thor. And the section I'm at right now is not the best. It's not bad. Like, these stories are not bad. But at this point in the series, you know, there's this thing with this character, Thor. To make it work, you have to balance Thor's time on Earth with Thor's time on Asgard. They're both important to Thor, the comic book. I always like the Asgard stuff more, the fantasy stuff. But they're both Thor as a hero on Earth and Thor as an Asgardian with all of the Asgardian cast of characters. You have to balance this stuff out. And that was done really well, actually, by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, and then later on by Stan Lee and John Buscema. They both did a pretty good job. And in fact, it continued to be that way when Len Wein did the book. But then when Roy Thomas got to it, it was really, really super heavy on the myth stuff, on the Asgardian stuff. And Thor's time on Earth was kind of forgotten all about. And that was actually okay with me. But now we're at a section in Thor where Thor just has decided to go back to Earth. And basically we're just getting, at this point, at the point I'm reading it, superhero stories on Earth with Thor. Dr. Donald Blake, the lame Dr. Donald Blake, who is lame in more ways than one, you know, he's back as a main character, and he'll stamp his old man cane on the ground, and he'll become Thor when he needs to become Thor. It's that whole thing, you know, and it's like, it's, if you're going to do just basic superhero stories, Thor is above that, I think. And so I'm probably going to have to deal with this for a while. We'll see. They're not bad stories, but they're definitely not as good as what came before. And the Asgardian stuff is pretty much pushed to the background. They've once again started doing Tales of Asgard at this point in the Thor series as a backup feature. So we get our Asgardian characters in that backup feature, Tales of Asgard. And that's the best part of the book when it's in the book. It's not in every issue. But we'll see. Maybe this epic collection will get better. I'm only, 100 and something pages into it. 150 pages maybe, I can't remember. We'll see. Maybe it'll get better. I just know that the book is probably not going to get great again until Walt Simonson gets a hold of it. And that's going to be a ways. But any comic book that you read from beginning to end, any superhero comic book, they definitely have up and downs. We have some great stuff, and then you have some stuff that's not so great. Right now, I'm into some stuff that's not so great. So that's Thor. I'm reading that. The next book I read after Jungle Tales of Tarzan, I am not sure. I might go back to Zelazny's Chronicles of Amber, or I might read something else. I am not sure. We will see. And hopefully I'll get some more videos up this week. I'm hoping that there will be no more health scares or anything like that, and that life is just normal, and I could just do videos as normal. I should be going back up to the manor tomorrow. I do have a Robert E. Howard show that should come up, I'm hoping, within the next day or two. Look for that. And I'll have some other stuff up, hopefully, if all goes well, fairly soon. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. You have a great day.